The first time I met the most feared Mafia Alpha in New York, his 5-year-old son crawled into my arms at 30,000 feet and called me Papa. 10 minutes earlier, I had been Caleb Bennett, ordinary freelance illustrator, professional overthinker, and proud owner of exactly $7 in airport snacks. Then the little boy across the aisle changed everything. He was maybe 5, with dark curls and enormous gray eyes, sitting beside a man who looked painfully out of place in commercial first class, because he somehow made first class look cheap. Black suit, black coat, broad shoulders, a silver watch that probably cost more than my car. He hadn't spoken since boarding. He simply watched the cabin with the calm attention of someone accustomed to knowing exactly where every exit was. His son was different. The boy kept sneaking glances at me over his stuffed dinosaur. I smiled once. He immediately hid. Cute. Slightly insulting, but cute. Then turbulence hit. The plane dropped hard enough to send my stomach toward Canada. Overhead, bins rattled. Someone gasped. The little boy made a tiny sound and grabbed his father's sleeve. The man's entire expression changed. The ice vanished. Milo, look at me. His voice was low and steady. You're safe. Another jolt shook the cabin. Milo squeezed his eyes shut. His breathing became quick and shallow. And suddenly, I wasn't thinking about the intimidating stranger beside him. I was thinking about a frightened kid. Hey, I said softly. Milo looked at me. I held up the napkin I'd been doodling on. Want to know a secret? His father glanced at me, suspicious enough to make my survival instincts file a formal complaint. Milo nodded. I showed him the ridiculous cartoon dragon I'd drawn wearing pilot goggles. This guy is flying the plane. Milo stared. He's a dragon. Exactly. Turbulence is basically a speed bump to dragons. A tiny smile appeared. Another bump came. Milo looked at the drawing instead of the window. I added a cape. Then sunglasses. By the time the plane steadied, he was giggling. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Milo unbuckled before his father could stop him, crossed the narrow space between us, and climbed directly into my arms. I froze. His father froze. Somewhere behind us, a flight attendant froze. Milo buried his face against my shoulder like he'd done it 100 times. Hey, buddy, I whispered. You okay? His small fingers tightened around my sweater. Then he said one word. Papa. My heart stopped. The man beside us went completely still. Not confused. Not embarrassed. Shocked. Genuine, bone-deep shock. Milo, he said carefully. The boy lifted his head but refused to release me. Papa, he repeated. My face burned. I promise I did not teach him that. The man's gray eyes locked onto mine. For the first time, I noticed something beneath his controlled expression. Recognition. Or fear. Neither made sense. He leaned closer, studying my face as though searching through a memory. Milo relaxed against me with a relieved little sigh. Then the man asked, very quietly, Who are you? For 3 full seconds, I forgot my own name. Caleb Bennett. I finally said, because apparently being interrogated by a terrifyingly composed stranger while holding his child had turned basic introductions into advanced mathematics. His eyes stayed on me. Milo, meanwhile, had decided my shoulder was excellent real estate. And you are? I asked. The man hesitated just long enough to make the question feel strange. Roman Hayes. The name meant nothing to me. His expression suggested he preferred it that way. Roman gently reached for Milo. Come here, buddy. Milo immediately tightened his arms around my neck. Roman stopped. Something flickered across his face. Hurt. Maybe, quickly buried beneath control. That softened me despite every instinct telling me this situation had officially become weird. Maybe give him a minute, I said. Roman looked at me as if people rarely gave him suggestions and lived comfortable lives afterward. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. For the rest of the flight, Milo stayed beside me, clutching my ridiculous dragon, drawing while Roman watched us in thoughtful silence. When we landed at LaGuardia, I expected an awkward goodbye and a funny story I would tell friends forever. Instead, the moment we entered the terminal, 3 men in dark suits appeared. One took Roman's carry-on. Another quietly scanned the crowd. The third addressed him as Mr. Hayes with the kind of respect usually reserved for judges, billionaires, or people you absolutely did not inconvenience. I slowed down. Okay, I murmured. Definitely not an accountant. Roman heard me. The corner of his mouth moved. Almost a smile. That was somehow more unsettling than the bodyguards. At baggage claim, Milo still held my hand. Caleb, Roman's voice was calm. May I have your phone number? I stared at him. That depends. Is this the part where you reveal you own an international company and need a suspiciously specific favor? This time he actually smiled. Briefly. It transformed his entire face. No. Then why? Roman looked toward Milo. He does not connect with strangers. The smile disappeared. Not since his mother died. My humor vanished with it. Milo leaned against my leg, tracing the dragon on his napkin. Roman continued quietly. He barely speaks around people he does not know. Tonight, he crossed an airplane to reach you. I looked down at Milo. Children do strange things. Milo does not. There was certainty in Roman's voice, but no pressure. That mattered. I am sorry, I said. I do not give my number to men I meet on airplanes, especially men who travel with security. One of the suited men suddenly became fascinated by the luggage carousel. Roman studied me, then nodded. Fair. No argument. No threat. Somehow, that surprised me most. He crouched beside Milo. We have to go. Milo frowned, then pulled a folded piece of paper from his little backpack and pushed it into my hand. For Papa. My chest tightened. Milo. Roman's tone was gentle but firm. Milo looked stubbornly at the floor. I unfolded the paper. 3 figures stood beneath a huge blue airplane, drawn in uneven crayon lines. One was small. One was tall and dressed entirely in black. The third wore a green sweater exactly like mine. All 3 were holding hands. I swallowed. That is quite a family portrait. Roman went still beside me. His phone vibrated. He checked the screen, and whatever he read erased every trace of warmth from his expression. He looked toward one of his men. Take Milo to the car. Milo protested, but Roman reassured him softly before the boy was carried away. Then Roman stepped closer to me, not touching, simply placing himself between me and the moving crowd. Caleb, go directly home tonight. My stomach tightened. Why? His gaze moved past my shoulder. Because someone followed us from the gate. 3 days later, Roman Hayes was standing outside my apartment. Roman Hayes stood outside my apartment at 8:14 on Thursday morning wearing a charcoal suit, a black overcoat, and the expression of a man who had never once wondered whether showing up unannounced was socially terrifying. Behind him waited a black SUV that probably cost more than everything I owned combined. How did you find my address? I asked. I told you I could find anyone. That was supposed to make me feel better? No. At least he was honest. Then the rear window of the SUV lowered, and Milo's face appeared. Papa. I closed my eyes. We are still working on that. Roman's mouth twitched. He refuses corrections. Convenient. Extremely inconvenient, actually. Milo had barely slept since the flight. Roman explained that every night, he asked whether Caleb was coming back. I hated how quickly that information found the softest part of me. So what exactly are you asking? Roman handed me a cream-colored envelope. Inside was a short agreement. Nothing romantic. Nothing permanent. For 4 weeks, I would spend several afternoons with Milo while Roman handled what he carefully called family business. Transportation and security would be provided. I could leave whenever I wanted. At the bottom was a number large enough to make me blink twice. You are trying to hire me. I am trying to give you a reason to tolerate me. I looked up. Roman was already watching me. There was something unsettling about his attention. Not because it felt predatory, because it felt complete. When Roman looked at you, the rest of the room seemed temporarily unemployed. I will do it, I said, handing the agreement back. But not for that amount. His eyebrow lifted. I am not for sale, Mr. Hayes. Roman, that depends on your behavior. 20 minutes later, I was in the SUV beside Milo, wondering exactly when my common sense had abandoned me. Roman sat across from us, answering messages on his phone. A heavy silver ring circled his right hand, engraved with a crest I did not recognize. A crown above a wolf. When he noticed me staring, he turned the ring inward. Interesting. His penthouse occupied the top floor of a building overlooking Manhattan, but we barely made it through the lobby before trouble found us. Cameras flashed near the entrance. Reporters surged toward Roman, shouting questions about the Hayes family and something called the Moretti Agreement. Milo froze. Roman moved instantly. One hand settled protectively over his son's shoulder. The other guided me behind him. Stay close. A reporter spotted me. Roman, who is the Omega? Another voice called. Is he your new partner? I nearly walked into Roman's back. Partner, I whispered. Roman glanced at the cameras, then at Milo, who was gripping my hand. His expression sharpened, as if he had reached a decision I had not been invited to discuss. He stepped beside me instead of in front of me. "Caleb is with me," he said. The crowd went strangely quiet. His hand rested lightly at my back, steady rather than possessive. "You will give him space." Nobody argued. Inside the elevator, I stared at him. "With you?" It stopped the questions. It created approximately 900 new ones. Roman almost smiled. Then his phone lit up. I caught only one line before he turned the screen away. "Keep Bennett away from the boy." He saw that I had read it. The elevator suddenly felt much smaller. "Roman, it is handled." That sentence is not reassuring. The doors opened. Milo pulled me forward, but Roman caught my gaze. "There is a charity gala Saturday. The press will be there. If you attend with me, they will stop searching for answers elsewhere." I stared at him. "You want me to pretend we are together?" Roman's eyes held mine. "Only in public." Something in his voice made those 4 words feel far more dangerous than they should have. By Saturday night, I had learned 3 things about pretending to date Roman Hayes. First, his driver arrived exactly 7 minutes early. Second, Roman owned cufflinks that probably had their own insurance policy. Third, when a Mafia Alpha looked at you and quietly said, "Stay beside me," your brain could forget that the relationship was supposed to be fake. The charity gala filled a Manhattan hotel ballroom with chandeliers, champagne, and people who seemed born knowing which fork cost more than my monthly electric bill. Roman wore black. Of course he did. I wore the navy suit his tailor had delivered that afternoon after Roman insisted my old jacket was not appropriate. I had informed him that insulting my blazer was a hostile act. He had replied, completely serious, "Then consider this reparations." Milo stayed home with his nanny, which meant I had lost my tiny emotional support human. Roman offered me his arm before we entered. "Remember, you can leave whenever you want." "You keep saying that." "Because I need you to believe it." That landed somewhere inconveniently close to my heart. We stepped inside. Conversations softened. Heads turned. Then the cameras noticed us. Roman placed one hand lightly against my back, exactly as he had in the lobby, and suddenly every nervous thought in my head became quieter. "Smile," he murmured. "I am smiling. You look like you are planning a tax audit." "This is my charming face." His almost smile appeared. That was when a polished voice behind us said, "Roman, you move quickly." Roman went still. A tall alpha approached with 2 older men beside him. Perfect tuxedo. Perfect hair. Perfect expression that made me immediately want to check whether my wallet was still present. "Adrian Moretti," Roman said. So this was the Moretti from the messages. Adrian looked me over without bothering to hide it. "And this must be the mystery Omega." "Caleb Bennett," I said. "I have a name." Adrian smiled. "Of course. Illustrator, correct? Freelance. Queen's apartment. No notable family connections." My stomach tightened. Roman's expression did not change, but the room around him somehow felt colder. "You researched him." "Everyone researched him." Adrian lifted his champagne. "You brought an unknown Omega into a Hayes event. People are curious." One of the older men chuckled. "Perhaps Roman is collecting charity cases tonight." Heat climbed my neck. I knew that feeling. The old instinct to laugh first so nobody could tell the joke had hurt. "Actually," I began, "I am extremely affordable as charity cases go." Roman's hand left my back. For one terrible second, I thought he was distancing himself. Instead, he stepped beside me, shoulder to shoulder. "Equal." "Caleb does not require your approval," Roman said. His voice remained quiet. That made everyone listen harder. Adrian smiled thinly. "You seem protective." "I am particular about manners." Roman looked directly at the older man. "You are a guest at a foundation event supporting children and families, yet you chose to measure a man's worth by his bank account. I would reconsider which of you needs charity." Silence. Clean. Absolute. No shouting. No threat. Roman simply picked up 2 glasses of sparkling water from a passing tray and handed one to me. "Come with me, Caleb." Adrian called after us. "Is this really necessary for appearances?" Roman stopped. I expected some carefully rehearsed answer. Instead, he looked at me first. Not the cameras. Not Adrian. Me. "No," Roman said. "It stopped being about appearances several minutes ago. My heart performed something medically irresponsible." We walked toward the terrace, and I noticed the silver ring on Roman's hand again, the wolf beneath the crown catching the chandelier light. An elderly man near the doorway saw it, and immediately lowered his gaze. "Roman," I whispered, "what does that ring mean?" His expression closed. Before he could answer, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. One message waited on the screen. "Ask Roman what happened to the last person Milo called family." The message stayed on my screen until the words stopped looking like English. "Ask Roman what happened to the last person Milo called family." My first instinct was to delete it. My second was to throw my phone into the Hudson River and move somewhere nobody wore custom suits. Instead, I turned toward Roman. Who was Milo's last family? His face changed. Barely, but I had become disturbingly good at reading. "Roman Hayes. Where did you hear that?" Wrong answer. I showed him the message. His jaw tightened. "We should leave." Another wrong answer. Around us, the gala continued sparkling as if my evening had not just developed a secret conspiracy. Roman guided me into a quiet library off the ballroom, then closed the door. "Caleb, there are things about my family that I kept from you because knowing them could make you a target." I laughed once. No humor in it. Someone already knows my phone number, my address, and apparently my connection to Milo. I think that ship sailed. Roman removed the silver ring from his finger and placed it on the table between us. The crowned wolf seemed darker away from the chandeliers. "This belongs to the head of the Hayes family." I stared at him. Head as in company president. Silence. My stomach dropped. "Roman, my family controls businesses throughout New York and several other states. Some are legitimate. Some existed long before I was old enough to choose what I inherited. You are not just connected to them. No, you lead them." Roman met my eyes. "Yes." The room suddenly felt too small. Every bodyguard, every careful glance, every person who had lowered their eyes when they saw that ring. I had thought Roman was a powerful businessman with dangerous relatives. The truth was worse. So the man I agreed to pretend to date is the actual Hayes heir. I am no longer the heir. His voice was quiet. "I inherited leadership 6 years ago. That is somehow not better." I stepped away from him. Roman did not follow. Good. If he had, I might have forgotten how angry I was. "What else?" I demanded. "What else have you decided I should not know?" His hesitation answered before he did. "Milo's mother was my cousin, Evelyn. I became his legal father after she died." I blinked. "You adopted him?" "Yes." Suddenly Milo's gray eyes made sense. "And the last person he called family?" Roman looked toward the window. "Evelyn." The anger inside me shifted, but did not disappear. "Then why would someone send that message?" "Because they want you afraid of me." Should I be? That hurt him. I saw it. Roman still did not defend himself. "You should decide that yourself." I turned toward the door. "Caleb." I stopped. "There is one more thing." Of course there was. Roman opened a locked drawer beneath the library desk and removed a thin folder. Inside was an old photograph from a children's community center. A younger version of me sat cross-legged on a carpet, surrounded by crayons and construction paper. In my arms was a toddler with dark curls. My breath vanished. "Where did you get this?" "Evelyn kept it." I looked closer. The toddler was clutching my shirt with one tiny hand. "That is Milo." Roman nodded. Memory returned in fragments. A frightened little boy brought into the center late one rainy evening. I had stayed with him until someone came. I had forgotten. Milo had not. My eyes burned as I looked at Roman. "You knew?" "Not on the plane. I found the photograph afterward." "And you said nothing." "I was trying to understand why Evelyn had a picture of you." I closed the folder. "You should have asked me." "Yes." No excuse. Somehow that made it worse. I walked past him. Roman let me. At the doorway, his voice followed me, softer than I had ever heard it. "The arrangement is over. You owe me nothing." I turned back. He stood alone beside the ring he had removed, looking less like a mafia leader than a man who had just realized control could not protect him from losing someone. "Good," I said. Then my phone vibrated again. Another unknown message appeared. The photograph was not the secret. "Ask him why Evelyn chose you." The rain started before I made it out of the hotel. 1 minute Manhattan was glowing beneath streetlights, and the next the sidewalk was shining black under a cold spring downpour. I stood beneath the awning staring at the second anonymous message, trying to decide whether anger or confusion was winning. Then Roman appeared beside me. He did not touch me. He did not ask me to stay. He simply opened an umbrella over my head while letting half the rain hit his own shoulder. "Your car is waiting," he said. "My car? I asked my driver to take you home." I looked at him. "And you?" "I have another car." Of course he did. Roman, stop making everything easy when I am trying to be angry with you. For the first time all evening, something almost human broke through his control. I do not know how else to take care of people. That sentence stopped me. Behind us, cameras flashed near the hotel entrance. Roman shifted immediately, blocking their view of me with his body. Do not, I said. Do not turn this into another performance. His eyes met mine. This is not for them. A reporter called my name and asked whether I had manipulated Roman through Milo. Roman turned, calm enough to be frightening without raising his voice. Mr. Bennett will not be answering questions about a child. Any outlet that publishes speculation involving Milo will lose access to every Hayes Foundation event. Silence followed. Roman looked back at me. That was not about appearances either. 20 minutes later, I was sitting inside the SUV while rain whispered against the windows. Roman had somehow ended up beside me after I told him I was not getting into a car alone while strangers knew my address. He accepted that logic without comment. Halfway to Queens, exhaustion caught me. My head hurt. My hands would not stop shaking. Roman noticed. Of course he noticed. He removed his coat and placed it beside me instead of around me, leaving the choice mine. I stared at it for several seconds before pulling it over my shoulders. It smelled faintly of cedar and cold air. Safe, annoyingly enough. Why did Evelyn choose me? I asked. Roman looked out the window. I do not know yet. You expect me to believe that? No. I expect you to question everything I say until I earn back your trust. That was not the answer I had prepared myself to hate. What was she like? Roman was quiet for so long I thought he would refuse. Brave. Difficult. The only person in my family who spoke to me like I was simply Roman. His thumb moved over the pale mark where his family ring usually sat. When my father died, the family decided grief was inefficient. I was 27. By Monday morning, I was sitting in his chair while men twice my age explained what weakness looked like. His laugh was small and empty. Apparently, it looked like having people you could not afford to lose. I watched him differently then, not as the man who could locate anyone, not as the alpha who could silence a ballroom. Just Roman, tired, alone. And Milo? I asked. His expression softened immediately. Evelyn made me promise that if anything happened to her, he would never grow up believing love was weakness. Roman swallowed. I have spent 5 years terrified I am failing that promise. My anger did not disappear, but it made room for something else. You are not failing him. Roman looked at me. You cannot know that. I saw you on the plane. The SUV stopped outside my building. Neither of us moved. Caleb, he said quietly, when Milo called you Papa, I was afraid. Of me. Of how quickly I wanted you to stay. My heart stumbled. Roman looked away first. Then his phone rang. He answered, listened, and went completely still. When, a pause, his gaze returned to me. Keep Milo inside. He ended the call. What happened? Roman's voice dropped. Someone entered Milo's room while we were at the gala. I forgot how to breathe. Was anything taken? No. Roman stared at me. Something was left. What? His answer came softly. A photograph of you. By Sunday morning, my face was everywhere. I discovered that while standing in Roman's kitchen with a cup of coffee halfway to my mouth and Milo coloring quietly at the island, my phone began vibrating across the counter like it was trying to escape. 12 messages became 30, then 50. Roman entered from the hallway, already dressed, his expression unreadable. Do not open anything, he said. Naturally, I opened everything. The first headline called me Roman Hayes' secret paid companion. The second was worse. Someone had leaked photographs of me entering Roman's penthouse, sitting beside him in the SUV, and walking into the gala on his arm. Then came the document. Our 4-week agreement. My name. Roman's signature. The original payment offer highlighted in red. Oh no. Milo looked up. I forced a smile. Everything is okay, buddy. It was not. A video appeared next. My own voice played over footage from the gala. I will do it. Then Roman's voice. If you attend with me, they will stop searching for answers elsewhere. Perfectly edited. Perfectly poisonous. The comments were already deciding who I was. Gold digger. Opportunist. Nobody who had manipulated a grieving child to get close to Roman Hayes. That one hurt enough to make me put the phone down. Caleb. Roman stepped closer. Do not. My voice cracked. Please do not tell me you can handle this. His jaw tightened. I was going to say I am sorry. Before I could answer, his security chief appeared at the doorway. Mr. Hayes, the family council is downstairs. Adrian Moretti is with them. Of course he was. 10 minutes later, I stood inside a private conference room, facing 12 people who looked at me as though I had tracked mud across something expensive. Adrian stood near the windows, immaculate and pleased with himself. This unfortunate situation requires clarity, he said. The agreement speaks for itself. I looked at Roman. Tell them. He said nothing. 1 second. 2. 3. The silence stretched until my chest hurt. Adrian smiled. Roman. Still nothing. I hated myself for caring. I hated that after the rain, after the car, after hearing him admit he wanted me to stay, some foolish part of me had expected him to choose me instantly. Fine, I whispered. I understand. I turned toward the door. No, Roman said. Quiet. Final. I stopped. He walked to the center of the room and placed the leaked agreement on the table. This document is real. My stomach dropped. Adrian's smile widened. Roman continued. And completely irrelevant. He looked around the room. Caleb never accepted payment. My legal team can confirm that. The agreement concerned Milo's care, not a romantic relationship. Adrian shrugged. Yet he publicly pretended to be your partner. At my request. For access to your family. Roman went silent again. Then he removed the silver ring from his pocket and set it beside the contract. The room changed. Nobody moved. Caleb did not use Milo to enter this family, Roman said. Milo recognized him because Evelyn already knew him. Adrian's face tightened. Roman turned toward me. And I should have told him everything before asking him to trust me. No excuses. No performance. Just truth. Adrian lifted his phone. Interesting. Then perhaps Caleb can explain this. A photograph filled the wall screen. It showed me outside the children's center years ago, speaking with Evelyn. Beneath it was a bank record bearing my name and a transfer for $25,000 from an account connected to her. I stared at the screen. I have never seen that money. Adrian smiled. Then perhaps you forgot. Roman looked at the record. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. My throat tightened. Then Milo appeared in the doorway holding an old blue envelope. Papa Caleb, he said softly. Mommy said this was yours. Milo stood in the doorway holding the faded blue envelope like it weighed nothing, while 12 powerful adults stared at him as if he had just carried the truth into the room with both hands. Roman moved first. Not toward Adrian. Toward Milo. He crouched until they were eye level. Where did you find that, buddy? Milo pointed toward the hallway. My memory box. Mommy said Papa Caleb gets it. My chest tightened at the name, but Roman did not correct him. He accepted the envelope carefully and brought it to me. My name was written across the front in handwriting I suddenly remembered from volunteer schedules and thank you cards. Caleb Bennett. I opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a letter and an old deposit receipt. Roman read over my shoulder, then went completely still. What? I whispered. His eyes lifted to Adrian. The softness disappeared. The $25,000 was never transferred to Caleb. Adrian gave a dismissive laugh. The bank record says otherwise. No, Roman said. Your altered record says otherwise. He placed Evelyn's receipt on the table. She established an education trust for Milo using Caleb's name as an emergency reference because he was the volunteer who stayed with Milo the night she believed someone was following her. My breath caught. Memory returned sharper now. Evelyn arriving late. Milo crying. Her asking me to keep him inside until she made a phone call. I had thought she was simply frightened. Roman turned to his security chief. Put the original bank records on the screen. The display changed. Dates. Account numbers. Verification stamps. The money had gone directly into Milo's trust. My name appeared only on Evelyn's emergency contact document. Then another file appeared beside it, the leaked version. Roman pointed to the timestamp. This document was created yesterday from a Moretti Foundation network account. Every eye turned toward Adrian. His smile finally disappeared. That proves nothing. Then we can discuss the edited audio. Roman nodded once. The original recording played through the room. My refusal of payment. Roman explaining the arrangement. Every sentence the leaked clip had removed. Clean. Obvious. Devastating. Roman did not raise his voice. He did not need to. You used a child, forged financial records, and publicly attacked an innocent man because you believed embarrassment would make him leave. Adrian straightened. I was protecting your family. Roman looked at him with something colder than anger. No. You were protecting your influence over it. He turned to the council. Effective immediately, every Hayes organization suspends business negotiations with more Eddy-controlled companies pending independent review. Adrian stared at him. You would damage an alliance over him? The room went silent again. Roman looked at me. Really looked at me. Then he walked across the room and stopped at my side. Not in front of me. Beside me. The public relationship began as an arrangement, he said. My heart hammered. That part is true. Cameras waited beyond the glass conference doors, reporters gathering outside after the leak. Roman opened those doors himself. Flashes erupted. He stepped into view with me beside him. Mr. Hayes, was Caleb Bennett paid to date you? Someone shouted. Roman answered without hesitation. No. Another reporter called. Then is the relationship fake? Roman glanced at me, and for once the most controlled man I had ever met looked almost nervous. It was supposed to be. The hallway went silent. His hand found mine, slowly enough that I could pull away. I did not. Caleb entered my life because my son trusted him. I asked him to stand beside me because it was convenient. His fingers closed gently around mine. He stayed when it became dangerous, inconvenient, and painful. Somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. My eyes burned. Roman faced the cameras. Caleb Bennett did not manipulate my family. He did not purchase his place in it. He owes me nothing. Then he looked directly at me. If he chooses to walk away today, I will protect that choice. My voice came out softer than I intended. And if I choose to stay? Roman's carefully guarded expression finally broke into a smile. Then I spend every day proving you were right too. Milo squeezed between us and grabbed both our hands. Papa stays. Laughter rippled through the hallway. I looked at Roman. Your son is very confident. Roman squeezed my hand. For once, I hope he is right. 3 months later, Roman handed me a new contract across the breakfast table, and I nearly threw a blueberry at him. Absolutely not. He looked offended. You have not read it. The last contract turned me into a national headline. Milo looked up from his pancakes. Papa was on television. Thank you, buddy. I had almost recovered. Roman hid a smile behind his coffee. Morning sunlight poured through the penthouse windows, turning everything gold instead of intimidating for once. Adrian Moretti was gone from our lives. The forged records had been publicly corrected, and an independent investigation had cleared my name completely. The anonymous messages had stopped. The reporters had mostly moved on. Roman had also reorganized his family businesses, putting outside auditors over anything questionable and stepping away from the traditions he had inherited but never wanted. He still wore the crown wolf ring when business required it. At home, it usually stayed in a drawer. Read page 1, he said. I narrowed my eyes and opened the folder. There were exactly 3 sentences. Caleb Bennett owes Roman Hayes nothing. Caleb Bennett may leave whenever he chooses. Roman Hayes would very much like Caleb Bennett to stay anyway. I stared at him. This is not legally enforceable. My attorney said the same thing. You showed this to an attorney? 3. I laughed so hard Milo started laughing too, despite having no idea why. Roman watched us with that quiet expression I had learned meant he was trying not to look happy, because happiness still embarrassed him. That was another thing we were working on. There is one problem, I said. Roman became serious immediately. What? I took the pen beside the folder and crossed out the 3rd sentence. His face fell so subtly that anyone else might have missed it. I wrote beneath it, Caleb Bennett chooses to stay. Then I signed my name. Roman stared at the page. That is even less legally enforceable. Good thing this is not a business deal. His eyes lifted to mine. No cameras. No counsel. No arrangement. Just Roman. Are you sure? He asked. It was perhaps the least Mafia Alpha question imaginable, and exactly why my answer came easily. Yes. Milo abandoned his pancakes and climbed between us. Does Papa live here now? I looked around the enormous penthouse. Actually, we need to discuss that. Roman blinked. We do. 2 weeks later, the 3 of us stood outside a brownstone in Brooklyn with moving boxes stacked behind us. Roman had objected to leaving Manhattan for approximately 48 hours until Milo discovered the backyard. Then the argument was over. The new place was quieter, warmer. There was a small studio for my illustrations, a bedroom Milo had already covered in dinosaur decals, and a kitchen where Roman continued his heroic campaign against edible pancakes. On our first evening there, we ate takeout on the living room floor because the dining table had not arrived. Roman loosened his tie and leaned against the couch. Milo fell asleep between us halfway through a movie, one hand curled around my sleeve and the other resting on Roman's wrist. You know, I whispered, when I met you, I thought you were terrifying. Roman glanced at me. Thought, do not ruin the moment. He smiled. A real one now. He did that more often. His hand moved across the carpet and stopped beside mine, waiting. I turned my palm over. Our fingers intertwined. I spent years believing protecting people meant keeping them outside the walls, Roman said quietly. Then Milo chose you before I understood what he was doing. I looked down at the sleeping boy. He has questionable judgment. He also thinks ketchup belongs on scrambled eggs. That came from Evelyn. The sadness in Roman's voice was gentler now. Something remembered instead of something hidden. I squeezed his hand. She trusted you with him. Roman looked at Milo, then at me. And somehow she trusted you too. Outside, an airplane crossed the evening sky, its lights blinking between the rooftops. I remembered turbulence, a cartoon dragon, and one impossible word from a frightened little boy. Roman leaned closer and kissed my forehead, simple and warm. Milo stirred without opening his eyes. Papa, right here, I whispered. Roman's fingers tightened around mine. 3 strangers had boarded a plane believing they knew exactly where they were going. But somewhere at 30,000 feet, a little boy had recognized home before either of us did.